In today's Insight, more failed peace talks with Israel and a devastating war between Israel and Hamas. Despite these setbacks, the Palestinian Authority will present a new plan at the United Nations this week to build up their international backing. President Mahmoud Abbas will use his speech to the General Assembly to lay out a framework that would establish borders for a Palestinian state. CCTV's Nathan King joins us again with a preview of the Palestinian position at the UN.
Mike, you know that there's been tremendous support for the Palestinian state here at the United Nations over the last 50 years or so, and even more so because of the terrible pictures that we saw on our TV screens all around the world of the suffering in Gaza this summer with the war between Hamas and Israel. But the big question facing diplomats here this week is, will that translate into more political support for a final Palestinian state? With rubble still piled high in Gaza, Palestinian officials in New York this week are pressing for urgent pledges of money to help clear the damage and rebuild this shattered community. $4 billion, they say, is needed right away. The total over 10 years could top $10 billion.
There is a really disaster situation in Gaza, human suffering, people without shelter by the hundreds, by the tens of thousands, homes that have been demolished, and the winter is fast approaching. We have to find solutions to house them and to do quick recovery.
And then there is the long-term quest for peace. After the failure of the US brokered peace talks with Israel and the Palestinians, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is poised to try and push for Palestinian demands for internationally recognized borders here at the United Nations.
Mahmoud Abbas, as the leader of the Palestinians, has to fill the void with something more positive, obviously, than violence. And right now, he's doing that through international forums like the United Nations.
There were cheers back in 2011 when Palestine was elected to join the United Nations Cultural Organization. Then came an enhanced status at the UN General Assembly in 2012. Now the Palestinians are considering joining the International Criminal Court. That would be a controversial step, as it would allow Palestine to potentially bring war crimes cases against Israeli citizens who may have committed war crimes as defined under the Geneva Conventions in Gaza and the West Bank. Such a step is considered by some as a nuclear option because of Israel's potential reaction.
It means mutually assured destruction, because Israel would almost certainly retaliate in a way that would destroy the Palestinian leadership, possibly by exiling them, possibly through assassination, possibly other means, but certainly Israel, there would be a response, and it would be severe. And so there is this sense that there is leverage, but the leverage is in the threat of it, and not in the use of it.
So ahead of any decisions on joining the court, Palestinian diplomats here are set to ask the Security Council to pass a resolution recognizing Palestinian borders, banning new Israeli settlement construction on disputed land, and potentially lay down a timetable for the creation of a viable Palestinian state. The United States has already said it does not support the plan, raising the spectre of a veto in the Council if the plan is brought to a vote. So if the Palestinians don't join the International Criminal Court, don't get anywhere in the UN Security Council, the question is where do they go next? And Mike, you know, there's a lot of growing frustration, especially in Gaza, after the attacks over the summer and the West Bank. This generation of Palestinian leaders haven't been able to deliver on a Palestinian state despite 20 years of diplomatic negotiations. And remember, we've had two intifadas, and there is a question, as the whole region is broiling and in the wake of the Arab Spring, is could we see a third?
And the answer is?
We don't know. But diplomacy only goes so far unless people deliver on it. And, you know, there is a real feeling here that the fight against Islamic State, what's happening in Syria, what's happening in Iraq, is overshadowing again the Palestinian cause. And that is a cause that has been long running. It's been caused since nearly the founding of the United Nations, and still no solution.
Yeah. Nathan King, live for us in New York. Thanks so much. And